These are common and objective stratagems. Stratagems that every Helldiver has access to. For fun, I've tested 7 of these stratagems to not only tell you which are the most practical, but more importantly yet again as always, which is the coolest. Before we dive in, I just want to mention some stats for the Hellpods themselves, as it's important to know for some of the stratagems ahead. Hellpods have the highest armor penetration of 10 or anti-tank level 6, meaning they will penetrate anything in the game, including every enemy structure except automaton gunship fabricators, fuel reserves, and orbital defenses. On enemy units it can penetrate, it deals a whopping 2,500 damage, which consistently one-shots everything except Bile Titans and Factory Striders, meaning if safe to do so, upon reinforcing you should try to land on the largest targets in the area, or when summoning a Resupply or SOS Beacon, you should try to tag the enemy with the orb so they are terminated upon arrival of the pod. Just be sure you're not in the landing zone, as it will also delete you with no remorse. Right, now we'll move on to the stratagems themselves. Like with my Eagle, Orbital, Sentry, support weapon and backpack videos, I'll be going through each one, giving tested statistics, tips and tricks you may not know, ranking them for aesthetics or how cool they are as we go, and I'll be giving and discussing my Practicality tier list at the end. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoy. There's 7 to get through, so without further ado, let's jump into them, starting off with every diver's best friend, the reinforcement stratagem. This stratagem is probably the most important in the game, allowing you to summon reinforcements upon a squadmate's demise. You gain a maximum of 5 global uses per squadmate on the team, meaning on a full team you have 20 uses, unless you're using the increased reinforcement budget booster, which will increase uses by 1 per Helldiver on the team for an extra 4 max. Once all of these uses have been depleted, 1 use shall be replenished every 2 minutes with a capacity of 1, and that cooldown restarts as soon as the stratagem is used again. If all squadmates including yourself have perished, the Super Destroyer will automatically use as many as available to bring the team back. It's important to note that the Hellpods dropped will only be able to land within a medium-sized area around the beacon, so you must remember to help your squadmates out by trying to throw the orb near their equipment if possible. If they have the power steering ship module upgrade, they will have more maneuverability when landing as well. As mentioned at the start, you may also want to throw your orb near a large enemy, such as a Bile Titan, so your squadmate can terminate the beast upon landing. Also, if the team is split up, please do your best to refrain from reinforcing a teammate across the map away from their things, if possible, as it's extremely frustrating. And as with all other stratagems, the reinforce will be disabled if you exceed the mission timer. In terms of aesthetics, I think every stratagem on the list here that drops in a Hellpod has to get a baseline score of 6, as the Hellpod drop and impact are all pretty awesome. As you get the support of another lovely Helldiver rising from the pod, we'll give it an extra 0.5, bringing it to a solid 6.5 for aesthetics. Next up, we have the SOS Beacon. This stratagem has only 1 use and is available to teams that do not have a full complement of players, usable by only the squad leader. Once it is used, it will display your mission as a higher priority mission on all other divers' mission maps on their ships. This can be recognized by the pulsing radar-like circles around certain ongoing missions, so if you're ever scrolling the map and see this, just know that there is a diver in the thick of it. From the screen to the ring to the pen to the key, and needs your assistance. As this stratagem drops in a Hellpod, you may use it as a precision strike as mentioned earlier in the video. In terms of aesthetics, I'll match the reinforcement stratagem as it has a Hellpod impact, but the beacon itself looks kinda cool, so it's a 6.5. Up next we have the Resupply stratagem, which once summoned provides you with 4 supply boxes that replenish 100% of your primary weapon ammunition, 100% of your secondary ammunition, with the exception of the grenade pistol, senator and stim pistol, which take 25, 50 and 50% respectively, and up to 100% of your support weapon ammunition dependent on the weapon. This can obviously be upgraded with the superior packing methodology upgrade to provide all support weapons with 100% of their ammunition. Now, I can't test the base cooldown of the stratagem anymore in-game, as it can supposedly be upgraded twice with the synthetic supplementation upgrade, which reduces it by 10%, and the morale augmentation, which reduces it by 5%, both of which I own. The cooldown I have is 2 minutes and 32 seconds, or 152 seconds. I do believe the base cooldown is 180 seconds or or 3 minutes, which would make synthetic supplementation bring it down to around 162 or 2 minutes 40-ish seconds, with then morale augmentation reducing it the further 5% to what I have currently. Of course, this can be verified rather easily by anyone who doesn't have the upgrades, so once again, if you know what they are, drop your answer down below. So far, in my experience, there hasn't been that many greedy players sucking up all the supply boxes, but if that's you, please do be a little considerate for your squad mates' ammunition. And if you can, as always, tag an enemy with the orb so the Stratagem Hellpod destroys it on arrival. Aesthetically, I think it can keep the base rating of a 6 for the Hellpod because the resupply unit itself isn't exactly cool looking. Moving on to the Eagle rearm. This stratagem rearms your Eagle stratagems by putting them on cooldown and sending the fighter to resupply on the Super Destroyer. The Eagle returns to the ship automatically after you've used all your charges, but this is just a manual way to do that. The rearm comes in with a cooldown of 2 minutes and 30 seconds, which can be reduced by 30 seconds to 2 minutes with the ship crew hazard pay upgrade. The morale augmentation upgrade also applies to 5% cooldown here, bringing it down to 1 minute and 54 seconds, before being further reduced again by an extra 10% with the advanced crew training upgrade, as long as you have at least one use of an Eagle stratagem remaining, which brings it down to 1 minute and 42 seconds. Once this time is up, you'll have a full complement of Eagle stratagem again, but to be honest, it's quite rare, at least in my experience, to ever need to use the rearm manually. I imagine the most common time to use it is when you're carrying a low count Eagle like the 500 kg with a high count such as the cluster bombs and really need your 500 kg back as soon as possible. Otherwise, it remains unused. Aesthetically, it does nothing except initiate a voice line, so I'm going to score it the lowest aesthetic score I've ever given at a smashing 0. Next up is arguably the most satisfying stratagem to use in the game, the NUX-223 Hellbomb. This is the biggest explosion you can create in the game, not counting the launch the nuke objective. You can hear and feel this thing's power as soon as it's deployed on the battlefield. Have a quick listen to its ambient sound effects.
Gravitas.
Once armed, you have 14 total seconds to get yourself out of its giant blast radius of about 25 meters, otherwise you will be erased from existence. You're able to call this in for objectives where you need to kill structures such as the rogue research stations, shrieker nests, fuel reserves and gunship facilities, fuel reserves in the sabotage supply bases missions, orbital cannons in the neutralize orbital defenses missions, and gunship factories cannot be destroyed with anything except a Hellbomb or a mini nuke from the SEAF Artillery, so you'll have to call it down for those. But the other structures, you do not need it, so you may take the opportunity to throw the Hellbomb into enemy lines to try and get some more use out of it.
Outpost destroyed.
Just beware that the enemies can destroy it before it detonates, rendering it useless. As most of you will know, you can also find live undetonated Hellbombs lying across the map on challenging difficulty and above, but you can apparently find them at any difficulty on foggy maps. Anytime you're able to detonate a Hellbomb, be it through one called in or lying on the map, it will explode into the best spectacle you will see on the battlefield, dealing 10,000 damage within a 25-meter radius, with the damage spreading further across twice that distance, obviously dealing less damage the further out it hits. With its armor penetration rating of 10 or anti-tank level 6, there is nothing that will stand a chance, meaning absolutely any unit, even the largest, will be completely obliterated by one of these explosions. Its power is unmatched, and I really wish we had more opportunity to use a stratagem with a Hellbomb warhead, just like the Shredder missile strike from Helldivers 1. Aesthetically, my goodness, everything about it is amazing. From that whirring sound it makes when you prime it and it's charging up, to the gigantic explosion, it's easily getting a 10 out of 10. Please, Arrowhead, give us more opportunity to use explosions like this. Right, coming in at maybe the third most used mission stratagem, we have the SEAF Artillery. This stratagem fires the shells you load it with across the map for a great extra stratagem support. The munitions you can find to load into the SEAF, in order of potency, worst to best in my opinion, are as follows. We have the smoke shell, EMS shell, the napalm shell, the explosive shell, the high yield explosive shell, and the mini nuke. Most of these have exactly the same effect as a current stratagem, starting with the smoke shell, which covers a large area with smoke, similar to the orbital smoke strike, just with only one impact rather than 6. This blinds the area and is most useful against automatons for retreating or repositioning. as it reduces enemy accuracy massively. The EMS shell performs exactly the same as the Orbital EMS strike, stunning a large area of enemies for 18 seconds in total, which I find is best for locking down bug breaches personally. The napalm shell sets a large area on fire, inflicting all enemies in the area with the fire damage over time effect, which, if you have seen the Orbital napalm strike at work, really does a good job at clearing out smaller enemies and even larger ones such as chargers if kept in the fire for long enough. As with all flame weapons, it works best against the Terminids. The explosive shell is identical to an orbital precision strike, giving it a direct impact armor penetration of 8 or anti-tank level 4, dealing 3,500 damage in total to a single target it hits, meaning it will delete anything it directly impacts.
I'm in danger!
With the exception of a factory strider, which takes the brunt a lot of the time. The explosion from a non-direct impact deals 1,000 damage with an armor penetration of level 6 or anti-tank level 2, which erases all medium to small units in the area. The high-yield explosive provides an explosion identical to the 500 kilogram bomb, except the one from the SEAF Artillery doesn't have a projectile like the Eagle. This explosion deals 500 more than the standard explosive at 1,500 damage, and has the same armor penetration value of 6 or anti-tank level 2, but it does have a larger area of effect than the standard explosive, making it more potent on larger squads of enemies. And finally, we have the mini nuke, which is identical to a Hellbomb. What a beautiful sight it is. As we have already discussed previously, this thing deletes absolutely anything caught within a 20 to 25 meter radius, with the maximum armor penetration possible of 10 or anti-tank level 6. A good thing to note is that the cannon fires the shells in the order you place them inside. And some good tips and tricks for you are that you can rocket jump with the shells and jetpack by jet jumping and picking up a shell quickly after. Or you can throw the shells as well by rapidly swapping weapon as you pick one up. These are a bit fiddly, but they are really nice when they work. Aesthetically, I think it's fair to give this stratagem a 10. If you're ever around to watch it fire and see the shell fly through the air, it looks amazing. Then on top of that, of course, being able to blast the area with a precision explosion, 500 kilogram explosion, or even Hellbomb explosion, it's hard not to give it top marks here. But of course there are some days where it gives you 3 smokes and 2 EMS, but we don't talk about those. And finally, I know I didn't include any other stratagems that initiate an objective, but for democracy, for Super Earth, the Super Earth flag embodies everything we strive to achieve across the galaxy. Steadfast support of our regime is indeed how humankind will reign supreme. Once you activate this stratagem, you are blessed with the backing track to the Super Earth national anthem as the enemies of humanity drop, rise and crawl out of every crevice around you for you and your squad to terminate. This stratagem encapsulates everything it is to be a Helldiver. It's almost not even a punishment when you step out of its range and lose some progress, as it just means you get to listen to the anthem for longer. Once the flag is raised, you need to clear the enemies in close proximity without stepping away, or you'll lose yet more progress. But once done, you get to stand and breathe a sigh of pride as the flag waves in the air. Aesthetically, you can't put a number on this much freedom. It transcends the aesthetics rating. With that all said and finally done, here is my practicality tier list for these stratagems, not considering anything else in the game. It's a pretty meme list, to be honest, and since everything is almost essential, I've given us an S+ tier, where the reinforced stratagem and the resupply sit for both lists as well. We obviously wouldn't make it through our missions without them. Just below in the S tier we have the SEAF Artillery for both lists. It just gives you that little extra push, and since it can give you precision strikes, 500 kilogram and Hellbomb explosions, it just has to be rated highly. Also in S tier for the bots comes the Hellbomb, as there are quite a few objectives that can only be destroyed using it, making it essential. And it, just looks bloody epic. I'm blasphemously placing it lower in the A tier for the bugs, as it's not as essential. Moving on to the B tier comes the Eagle rearm as well. Personally, I find myself rarely using it. I imagine some people could disagree with that rating, so please do let me know. Below that we have the SOS Beacon in the C tier, as you'll get divers joining your game most of the time regardless of using it or not. And wait, I think I forgot something. Introducing the God tier. Within it, the blessed Super Earth flag rests as the thing we strive for as Helldivers, as we sing the anthem in battle for our families back on Super Earth. And finally, here is the aesthetic leaderboard. The Hellbomb coming in tops as well. Who wouldn't rate it that highly? Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these ratings, but for now, I'll see you in the next video.